Hello, this is the 119th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2223, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. And today is not one of our ordinary episodes.
No, we're doing at least a two-parter and possibly a three-parter. Yeah?
Depending how things go. Although, come to think of it, I'm not sure if our usual episodes are all that ordinary.
Sure. But in the sense that, so last week we spoke about you being selected to run for an election. And this week we're talking about the campaign.
Yeah, status quo. Yeah. It's a nice recap. So we're in the middle of campaigning. And we have one more week of campaigning to go. And we thought it was a nice idea to inform our listeners how things are going.
Right.
I think maybe we can do it as like semi-chronological. Because we left last week on a massive cliffhanger. We didn't have any policies yet.
Right. We still needed to, well, you still needed to work them out, and I needed to work out how to, help you campaign on those policies.
Exactly. And of course, policies are important, but if you want to do proper campaigning, as we understand it, what you really need.
Well, that was from the workshop I went to. You need a slogan.
You need a slogan.
You need a brand. You need all kinds of marketing material, but slogan is the first thing to come up with.
Yeah. Data says that candidates without a slogan are less likely to be elected. Can I tell them our slogan?
Please do.
More dirt in Frankfurt.
It's nice. It rhymes.
I'm pretty proud of this. You know when the T-shirts are coming?
They were due on Saturday, but they should come tomorrow now.
Okay, nice. I tried to print like a version of it at home, but I couldn't fit in.
Sure, no.
But I'm going to look forward though. So there for the listeners, we have T-shirts ordered with our slogan.
Yeah, I mean obviously for us to wear, but also for all the other people on our staff. We haven't actually got such a large staff, but at least anyone helping out with us.
And then hand them out on the street,
that too,
of course,
exactly.
to our massive supporters, assuming we have supporters. But just for them to mention that the T-shirt it's not like a plain brown, but it's kind of like it looks like the ground.
Correct. Mud. Like if you tear up the grass, what's underneath? Mud. That's what the T-shirt looks like. Not in terms of texture, but the pattern.
Exactly.
With the slogan written on it. It looks almost like grass growing out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a pattern for our cyborg chips, where you can program your skin to kind of match your T-shirt. So it really looks like you're
made of the earth.
You're dirty.
Oh, well, that's another way of putting it. But sure, so do you want to explain why that sounds slogan?
Yeah, so I think at the end of last week's episode, we already started thinking in that direction. But the thing is, if you're moving around Frankfurt, it's basically, I mean, for the long distances, everybody uses teleportation. And then for the shorter distances, there's either hover transport or walking. So walking is the only transport that requires you to touch the ground. But the hover transport also hovers you slightly above ground. So anything that is growing out of the ground that is taller than, 20 centimeters is annoying. Yeah. Because if you're hovering on your hover blades or whatever, it flops against you and it slows you down. And if you're walking...
I mean, that's why a lot of hover vehicles will have a laser perimeter that cuts anything in the way.
Exactly. But but also if you're walking, of course, you don't have that. Although if you have the boots, they have the laser boots.
Sure, then.
But
especially now in the summer, it's a bit too warm to wear those.
Those could also be a real nice
topic. So laser footwear, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there were laser sandals. They didn't last long on account of accidentally chopping off some folks' toes. That was too dangerous. Yeah.
But the laser boots, that could actually be one of our policies as well once we get selected.
Something like laser boots for...
Yeah, exactly. Just subsidize them or something like that. I mean, it's basically, it cuts both ways. I mean, not the laser, but the idea, like if you have, because that's the thing, more dirt in Frankfurt is if you have more dirt and therefore less things growing.
Right. We didn't, I think as you say, I think we mentioned it briefly at the end of last week's episode, but the idea, why is it more dirt in Frankfurt? The idea is to put more dirt, so more soil, more earth, on top of all the grass, and that way the bits of the grass that stick out above it will be shorter.
Yeah, because of course you walk and you hover higher while the grass stays the same.
Yeah, basically we're talking about increasing the ground level, like making it higher up. And
that was a pretty solid point. We will get to the debates later, but
and another thing, like so, the slogan itself and that policy, they're brand new. No one else has ever thought of them or mentioned or done anything with them before.
Everybody else talks about teleportation policies and stuff like that, and we just have more dirt in Frankfurt. I also feel very down to earth with this. So there's like our main policy revolves not around technology.
Right.
Maybe we spend too much time with our 21st century listeners. We don't think about technology anymore. We think about old-fashioned stuff.
Well, I mean, for the most of our episodes of our show here, we do talk about our tech stuff for the people in the past,
Yeah.
But sure, it's a bit less. At least, so we'll mention later some of the technologies we are using in this campaign, but none of them are really like brand new.
Yeah.
They're all existing ones for us,
Yeah. I think before we get to the actual events that we had, we also spoke about tactics, right? So not everything worked out well. I think a mistake that we made relatively early on in the debates is me naysaying every candidate.
Right.
Because we're basically like a single...
Like just being competitive, like whatever they said, you take the opposite position.
Yeah, exactly. And us being a bit of a single topic
candidate.
Yeah,
I mean,
candidate.
It's not even a party, but single topic candidate.
Exactly. Then it's okay. That's what we agree for, and then but basically naysaying every other possible idea gets you attention, but also actually adds. Every time you say nay, it adds basically another policy to you because you're against something,
right.
Instead of indifferent. So I think we learned that relatively early on.
Yeah, toned that down.
Also didn't help pissing off everybody.
No, definitely not. And especially some of them will be your colleagues later. So
sure. And some of their ideas are actually pretty good.
Yeah, that too.
And I think also the other ideas, especially when we tried to get some attention to our idea, to our policy, and then with the thing where we had me dressed up as an old-fashioned vacuum cleaner.
I mean, most people didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
So it was, for the few who did, it was a nice a nice cut. Like, hey, we're going to clean up the city. Okay, by putting more dirt on it, but we're going to clean up the city. And if you know what a vacuum cleaner is, that's pretty interesting. But if you don't, it just looked like a strange... I mean, some people did ask, is that a new device?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? But okay, then too much focus was on that costume rather than you as a candidate. And
also because we spend a lot of time with technology and also explaining technology to the past, and therefore also with a little bit more about how technology evolved. We know about this thing, It's
right.
This used to be a thing, and but it's for too many people it was basically unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Shall we explain some of the events that we went to?
Right. Yeah. So exactly, over the last week, so far there've been 3 main events. Basically a way for the public to see, to learn about the candidates, to see how they stack up in relation to each other. And then, these events, I mean, there were points involved, there were competitions, there were points. Those points aren't binding. It's not like people have to vote based on whoever gets the most points, but it's like an indicator. And
also shows, I think, the general public how serious candidates are taking it.
Yeah.
And then besides that, also how good they are in, let's say, different things, because they were very different.
Yeah.
So it does give a pretty good indication, but if you like somebody who doesn't take it very seriously, you can still vote for this person.
Yeah, it's not a thing where you, like I said, it's not that the candidate with the most points automatically wins. It's rather a way for the public to see whether the way they go about winning or competing in the events matches what's important to them.
Yeah. I mean, from your perspective as campaign manager, as like, at least if you focus on the 3 main events that we had last week, any that stood out where you said that was particularly interesting? Or?
Yeah, so I mean, this is like the most classic one, is the throwing toilet bowl event.
Yeah.
And that's where each candidate has a gravity gun, and they use that to manipulate a toilet bowl. So
you reckon our listeners don't know?
I think they know what a toilet bowl is.
No, but I mean, like, would they already have had these events?
I think
21st century?
so. They didn't have gravity guns back then.
Fair point. Okay, so this could be.
But they had toilet bowls, so maybe they did this event using their hands, just holding the toilet. I should continue. So you have a toilet bowl, a brand new, a clean one. It hasn't been used before, and you use it to collect as many items that are around in the field as possible. Within a time limit, basically within 3 minutes, gather as much stuff as you can into the bowl, and then using the gravity gun as well, throw it as far as you can, and ideally have nothing of those items you collected, have none of them fall out of the toilet bowl. And that's really where the skill comes in, because, okay, it's not just that you have a gravity gun and you say, hey, toss. It's that you need to spin the bowl in such a way that the centripetal force keeps the items against the edge, the wall of the toilet bowl, and doesn't just go flying off out the openings.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you see Dirk, the robot? Mm-hmm. He threw it so far, went out of sight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Apparently hit a bus, like a hover bus that was passing by. Mm-hmm. We didn't see it. Nothing happened.
Learned it later.
Yeah,
learned about
but
it later.
That was. I mean, because the idea was as far as possible within the field, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's usually it never goes outside. So it's not really a concern. I mean, to do that, Dirk must have had some like custom modification going on with that.
He's a robot. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it. Maybe he had some special.
Maybe gravity gun was part of his own body.
Could be.
And he juiced it up.
Or he directed some extra power to it.
Yeah. But like we were saying, so some people who were watching the event, for them it will be really impressive that he threw it so far, and for others maybe it's like, hey, he broke the rules. How all kinds of possibilities. The point of the event isn't to pass judgment; it's more to present the information that people can choose.
I thought because I've never really paid it much attention. I've seen it, of course, with past elections, the toilet bowl throwing, but I've never really paid much attention to it. Also, I didn't realize.
So it was your first time actually. I mean, you had a little bit of time to prepare, to train, but it was your first time ever actually competing with it.
Exactly, and it was much more fun than I thought.
Right, and it was. I don't know if it was clear from how I described it for our listeners. I mean, you of course know how it worked, but you had the toilet bowl held with the gravity gun, and then you basically were using it like a big scoop to pick up the items in the field. It's not that you could use your hands to pack the items into the bowl. Yeah. So that was the first part of the challenge, and then
But like I said, it was more fun than I thought, and also you remember the tall red-headed woman standing next to me? Her name escapes me. One of the other candidates. After I threw it, she cheered along. It was like and
it was supportive.
Exactly, she wasn't the only one. There were like most of the candidates were actually genuinely interested in the other ones performing well as well. It felt more like a bonding event as we were competitors.
Sure, and I mean, like I said, some of you will work together. So I don't know how calculating it is. I don't mean it in a mean way, but I don't know how people are thinking of it that, or if really they're just caught up in the event, excited by it.
I thought the other event that I thought was quite fun and also maybe a bit of a bonding event was the competing. As far as I understand it, creative wordplay on competing.
Right, we should, exactly, it's hard to come across just audio, but right, it's a pun, competing, to compete in a competition, but actually it's spelled comp, so C-O-M-P, and then eating, like to eat something, E-A-T-I-N-G. And just to be clear, it's comp as in competitive, not comp as in compost. Eating compost would be a different kind of event, and it's not that.
Exactly. And I thought it was nice where, of course, you're eating a lot, and then you're eating local delicacies, which I also didn't know, I have to admit. But of course, being in Frankfurt, green sauce, eggs, and potatoes.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that where it was so competitive eating. The idea was basically who can eat the most.
And what I thought was nice is the idea of no time limit.
Right. As I mentioned, the idea was to eat as much as you can.
Yeah.
But not within a fixed time frame.
Exactly. And then basically until the audience started to leave, and then because it was in the main street in one of the main streets in Frankfurt, people started leaving. At one point, there was nobody there except us eating, and then that's it.
Yeah. But we've had good weather lately, so I mean, another reason people might leave would be if it started raining, but it was good weather, so that wasn't a reason for it. So it went on quite a long time.
Did you like how I was throwing the axe up in the sky and then catching it on the mud?
That was a nice bit of showmanship.
Because that's kind of the idea, right? Because like watching 40 candidates eat.
Right. Some competitive eating competitions, the focus really is on how much can you eat, and it's not so interesting to watch. Depending, for various. For certain values of interesting, some people enjoy watching people be in pain, and so they like the expression on their face. But I don't, and most people don't enjoy that. So it's more fun, like you were saying, tossing the eggs up in the air, grabbing them in your mouth. Other people were like making, while they were eating, they had like cocktail shakers, and they were like mixing the green sauce, and then like glugging a bit after each egg or stuff like that. So, it makes it more fun to watch. Yeah,
and then the teleportation was a nice addition.
Sure, that you can continue. The show can go on longer than it would if you actually had to keep all that food inside your stomach. Instead, it can be teleported out of your stomach on a regular basis.
I can't imagine how they must have done it in the 21st century. Politically,
I guess those competitions, those competing events were shorter.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but of course, important part of the political landscape.
Definitely.
Maybe the debates are interesting to mention.
Yeah. I think it's a bit maybe a bit more, even more traditional than the throwing of the toilet bowls. I think even before people used to throw toilet bowls full of things with gravity guns, I think they used to have political debates as a way of also then knowing the policies, like not just from reading it on a flyer, but actually hearing from the candidate's own mouth their policies. Although, not actually from the candidate's own mouth, of course, through their PA, because PAs are not always, but often better spoken. Yeah,
exactly. And I think it's nice that like you define your policy. So what do I stand for? But especially in debate and in arguments against each other, PAs are way better suited to basically exchange thoughts. So personal assistance for people that haven't listened to all our episodes, basically artificial intelligence, intelligent assistants that everybody has. Yeah,
we had your own Mr. Dobolina. He hosted an episode for us. I think it was episode 109, so a few weeks ago.
And he did a pretty good job in the debates.
That's actually been one of our most popular episodes. We've received the most email feedback.
Okay.
It's really nice. So then not just emails saying, we listened to it, but actually, saying nice things about it.
Okay. We should let him know at some point. It's going to improve his mood. Although the debate definitely improved his mood.
Right, sometimes I think PAs are a bit frustrated. They can do so many things, and often, they think maybe the things they are given to do are a bit beneath them. But a debate, especially with 39 other PAs, it's a lot of fun for them.
A lot of commuting power was used that day.
Yeah.
But what I also find interesting is that the audience was definitely thinner than, for example, with the competing. Yeah, there were definitely less people interested in hearing arguments and policies.
At least they're in person. Yeah, it's the kind of thing you can listen to as a podcast pretty easily. So, and time shifted, So definitely in the hall at the event there were less people there.
What I thought was interesting in the debates that I kept facing out. I have to admit. Because
phasing out? Or
phasing out, like not paying attention.
Your mind was wandering.
Yeah. And especially with 40 PAs and interruptions were allowed, so that was happening a lot. So they definitely could understand because they also can receive.
But they can all speak at the same time.
Yeah.
The PAs can all speak at the same time, and they have no problem keeping track of who's saying what.
Yeah.
But it can be a little hard to follow.
I mean,
for myself,
I can even imagine what it would be for the possible voters, but at least for me, and also then my mind started wandering, and then I wasn't really paying attention all the time what Mr. Dobalino was saying, for example. So,
I mean, I didn't notice anything. He didn't say anything that struck me as inappropriate.
I also didn't hear. He usually never does. So, but it could be in the heat of the debate, and so the other PA triggers him or whatever. But nothing that was brought to me afterwards, or nothing he mentioned. So
that's good.
What I found interesting, because one of the main topics was sustainability with teleporting,
right?
Where teleporting to a faraway destination obviously uses more energy.
Right. And we have unlimited energy from that's beamed to us via Mercury, but some folk are having concerns that what if that isn't actually unlimited? What if at some point it runs out or is harder to get a hold of?
Exactly, and then if I think it was a rather theoretical discussion or even more a philosophical discussion, but what's the power priority? That's kind of the topic, and then
Well, and to prepare, or at least to have a plan for what if we cannot teleport so much as easily as we do now?
Yep.
Okay, will our civilization just stop, or is there a plan in place to continue, but in some different way?
And also, like, robots also require energy, right? So if we're teleporting all over the place all the time using massive amounts of energy to find out later, it was limited after all, and now all the robots have to power down. We're going to have a discussion.
I mean, definitely. Though, I think we mentioned long ago, one of the issues we have, the reason we have brownouts every so often, we have unlimited energy, but we don't have the capacity to store so much. And so that's, especially from the robot perspective, that's the long-term concern, is not just that the energy may stop. I mean, that's billions of years in the future when the sun stops, but rather it would be useful even now to be able to store more. But there hasn't really been there hasn't been much movement on that in decades.
No.
And so that was one of the policy things from many of the candidates, was arguing that really priority should be given to that research, that we should have a backup store.
And I mean, it's important that, like, if we in politics don't even discuss these things, then who else is gonna?
Right.
Maybe also for the listeners that don't listen to every episode, like a brownout is kind of like a blackout, but then partially. So there's low energy, but not zero energy, like with a blackout.
Exactly.
I thought we have a lot of interesting other candidates.
Yeah, indeed, 39 others than yourself.
But I thought, because, like, if I remember correctly, the actual election night is next week. Maybe we use, because then the results are coming in. If we time it right, we can record during the release of the results, and then we can use that opportunity to pinpoint some of the candidates.
Oh yeah, good idea.
But maybe we both mention one favorite.
Or at least notable ones,
Yeah, okay.
Shouldn't at least. I mean, you're running in the election, so we probably shouldn't say who are our favourites publicly. I mean, who are our favourites? Who do we dislike, and so on, in case it somehow comes back to hurt you in the campaign.
Okay, so
but we can just comment.
I think the. I mean, okay. So okay. I'm not saying favorite, but I think it would be not a bad idea if she's elected. This Janice Oyelabi, and she actually has some experience.
Right. Previous political experience.
Yeah. So I used to be a council member in Amsterdam, as far as I understand. And of course, once you've held office, you're not allowed for 10 years.
No, sure. But
it's longer ago.
Yeah, and you still remember.
Yeah.
You still have experience, is the point.
Yeah, and apparently she did a pretty good job there. She now lives here. I think, she would be a good fit.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And then there's the other. Well, actually, I don't know if he'd be a good fit or not, but he's definitely someone who doesn't really who's not taking it seriously. And I think it's because, so this is Marcus.
Yeah, I thought you were mentioning it.
Exactly, and he's a robot, and he's a landscaper, so a gardener.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned before, so after leaving office, you can't work in that field for a very long time. And so he really doesn't want to get elected. It's clear, yeah? Like, he can't just spoil it. He can't, I mean, he's not going out of the way to say horrible things.
Yeah.
But basically he's very quiet.
Yeah.
Doesn't say much. And then if someone does ask a question, he just shouts out, "Bullocks!"
Yeah, I know.
Which, lightens the tone, makes people laugh.
That's the thing. Like he's doing it on purpose because he doesn't want to be elected, but he's having the laughers on his side.
That's true.
So
Making a nice atmosphere, and actually, it may.
It's a risky game he's playing.
Yeah. Hopefully, so again, assuming he doesn't want to be elected, he's playing a risky game.
That's for sure. Yeah. Sorry.
I was just wondering, actually, because also to say something that we mentioned last week, how candidates are not allowed to receive gifts other than ones they can eat, and they should be food.
Yeah.
Have you received any over the last week?
I have received one.
Oh,
a radish.
Okay, a single
radish.
Big, regular size.
Regular size. Yeah.
Okay, tasty. Oh, did you eat it?
No, I still have it in my apartment.
Okay.
So because I set up a gift table.
Yeah.
Because I understood, you get gifts and then people try to influence you and so on.
That was my understanding too.
So I have a big table in the corner of my apartment and there's one radish on it. So, and I got it on Monday, so it's already a little bit wrinkly.
I mean, for that reason, I would suggest eating it sooner rather than later. But that's a little, we mentioned last time, the people who want to give those gifts tend to give them to the people they have an expectation might win. And that's not inspiring so much confidence, I guess.
Yeah, okay. That should say...
But I can look into that. Maybe there's just a mistake. Maybe, the people are wanting to send the gifts and they're somehow going to the wrong address.
Or they're thinking, I can't be corrupted.
That too. It's not worth their time.
See, I'm spinning it in the right direction.
That is the way to spin it.
I feel better about my lonely radish now.
Definitely.
But I did get approached by no less than 2 different political parties.
Right. So asking if you wanted to join them, like not be just an independent candidate.
Exactly. As far as I understand it, of course, you get randomly selected to be a candidate, and most people aren't actually part of a political party.
Maybe they have a political party that they voted for, often in the past, but that doesn't necessarily mean they want to be a member of that party.
Exactly. And the thing is, the political parties, the people in there, they have strong ideas and they really want to change something, but of course, they can't influence who's randomly selected to be a candidate. So there's a pretty small chance, unless they have really a lot of members, that one of them actually is selected. So instead, they look at the randomly selected candidates and think, who could be a good fit for our party? So it's the Kings of Leon that approached me. It's one of the oldest political parties, as far as I understood.
Yeah, and that's a political party where music is basically their focus, yeah.
Exactly. I think, as far as I understand, they told me they started out as a band.
Okay.
But then turned political party. And then I was approached by AAAA the first.
Yep. Exactly, 4 A's.
4 A's, yeah. Because they want to be first in the list of political parties, and there used to be a party with 3 A's.
Exactly.
And as far as I understand, they approach everybody. It's
okay. Oh, okay. I'm saying so, meaning it wasn't something you had said or done that made them think you would be a good match. They simply ask everyone.
They're let's say a very mature party. With their name and their way of how they work. But
and it works, when there's the list of all the parties, they're first, so they catch you up.
Yes, which of these parties could be interesting? Let's start reading at the top, So, and they're pretty big, so they must do something, right?
Exactly. There's the contrarian counterpart, I guess. So Z, the last, so 5 Zs. And that's for the folk who, whenever they come across an alphabetized list, always start at the end, because they figure, hey, if I start at the beginning, I'll lose interest halfway through. So some people do start at the end, but that's a much smaller party.
Yeah, that's true.
They were optimistic with the 5 Zs. No other parties have actually wanted to have Z or ZZ or ZZZ.
Exactly. Any more than 2 Zs, that's... But on the other hand, they're set for a while. So if any party comes along with 3 Zs, hey, we're still at the bottom or at the top.
Depending if you resort or if you just look at the bottom.
Yeah. But to be honest, I have no idea about their policies.
No. Either. So AAA the first or Kings of Leon?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not considering joining either then?
No. Then we received a whole bunch of listener questions.
Right, which was very kind of our listeners that they listened to it last week, our episode, sent in the questions in time for us to answer this time.
But our episode is lasting pretty long already.
Indeed.
How about we keep that as a cliffhanger and we answer all of those questions at the start of next week's episode.
That would be an interesting way to mix things up. Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. Then we're suddenly at the end of the episode.
All of a sudden there, even though it's, like you say, it's a longer one. So people who asked us last time questions, we'll get to those next time, but people who have questions today about today's episode, please email us at michaellasagna5@gmail.com and put the episode number 119 in the subject. And then we'll know that this episode successfully went back in time. And we like that.
Yeah.
When it does.
Just in case anything we said today wasn't absolutely clear. Could happen.
It's possible.
All right. And thanks for listening. And see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.